98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com presents the Mid-Columbia Today Show with Mark Bailey. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive. Now, here's Mark Bailey.
It is 8:04 in the morning, and good morning. I'm Mark Bailey. Mid-Columbia Today, as it is a Monday, the 27th of July. I got to remember, I'm back. I have returned from vacation for 3 weeks. I'm going again. But I gotta get him in for football season. That's the way it works around here. So anyway, here's what we're doing this morning. Going to talk City Hood River this morning is what we're going to do. City Manager Abigail Elder is here. Not sure if Mayor Paul Blackburn is going to make it or not. I guess he was like me. He's been gone. So he may still be flittering around trying to get back. So nonetheless, we've got things we can talk about. So we have got a lot to do here this morning. But first, as we always do, let's tell you what this day has meant and what it means, at least to some people. This day in 1789, President George Washington signed a measure establishing the Department of Foreign Affairs, forerunner of the Department of State. 1866, Cyrus W. Field finished laying out the first successful underwater telegraph cable between North America and Europe. 1909, during the first official test of the Army's first airplane, Orville Wright flew himself and a passenger, Lieutenant Frank Lum, above Fort Myer, Virginia, for 1 hour and 12 minutes. This day in 1953, the Korean Armistice Agreement, signed at Panmunjom, ended 3 years of fighting on the Korean Peninsula that killed an estimated 4 million people. 1974, the House Judiciary Committee voted 27-11 to adopt the first of 3 articles of impeachment against President Richard Nixon, charging he had personally engaged in a course of conduct designed to obstruct justice in the Watergate case. 1980, on day 267 of the Iranian hostage crisis, the deposed Shah of Iran died in a military hospital outside Cairo, Egypt, at the age of 60. 1981, 6-year-old Adam Walsh abducted from a department store in Hollywood, Florida, and was later murdered. Adam's father, John Walsh, subsequently became a victims' rights activist and in 1988 launched and hosted the TV show America's Most Wanted. 1996, terror struck the Atlanta Olympics as a pipe bomb exploded at Centennial Olympic Park, directly killing 1 person and injuring 111. Anti-government extremist Eric Rudolph later pled guilty of the bombing, exonerating security guard Richard Jewell, who had been wrongly suspected. 2015, the Boy Scouts of America ended its blanket ban on gay adult leaders while allowing church-sponsored scout units to maintain the exclusion for religious reasons. And in 2020, the world's biggest COVID-19 vaccine study began with the first of 30,000 planned volunteers helping to test shots created by the National Institutes of Health and Moderna. Our days for today, well, it is a Bagpipe Appreciation Day today. Apparently, you're supposed to appreciate those bagpipes wherever you are out there. It's Take Your Houseplants for a Walk Day today. It's also Take Your Pants for a Walk Day. I have no idea on that one. For goodness sakes, please do. If you're going out on a walk, take pants with you. Please. It's Walk on Stilts Day also. I think you probably shouldn't take the walk on stilts either unless you are a trained professional. Food and drink today. It's National Scotch Day today. Celebrate responsibly, folks. It is National Creme Brulee Day today. And it's National Chicken Fingers Day today. Chicken strips. Some people call them chicken fingers. Not me, but others do. So anyway, there it is for what it's worth. May not be a whole lot. 8:08 in the morning, we'll talk City Hood River right after this.
Hey, Oregon, it's your cool dad. Let's have a little talk. I know. Every summer it feels like the same routine. Summer weather leaves our state hot and dry, and our outdoor activities can accidentally spark a wildfire. We just need everyone to make sure that doesn't happen, okay? Whether we're having a campfire, mowing the lawn, or driving the car, we just have to be careful. So let's put on that smoky hat and keep Oregon green.
The nominations are in and finalists have moved to the voting round for Best of the Gorge 2026. Visit bestofthegorge.com and vote for your favorites. Find a full list of campaign categories and finalist names to select from at bestofthegorge.com. Vote for as many as you want, once a day, every day. It's easy and you'll help your favorites win the title of Best of the Gorge 2026. Voting ends July 29th, so vote today at bestofthegorge.com.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
And we're back to talk City of Hood River this morning on MCT at 8:10 in the morning, and we have with us now Mayor Paul Blackburn, City Manager Abigail Elder. Good morning to both of you.
Morning, Mark.
Good morning, Mark.
Trying to figure out where to start here. Actually, I'm going to start with what I just learned because I was not around next week. But Abigail, you were telling me before I left, I remember doing the story, the STR ordinance for the City of Hood River had gotten all the way up to the U.S. Federal Court of Appeals and was heard before a Court of Appeals panel. Not the full court, but a panel of them.
That's right.
And I usually don't think about things that go to there right away because usually it does not take long to get. It takes a little while to get an answer. Not in this case, apparently. You were telling me that the city has received the answer.
Yeah, the decision came quickly, and the mayor was actually at the hearing. Can you tell us a little bit about... and STR standing for short-term rental. This is the city's ordinance that was passed in 2016 and has gone through a number of court cases.
I and my friends who are lawyers were quite excited. Like, what? You're in front of the Ninth Circuit? Like, this is a big deal. It's like not the Supreme Court, but, next to that. And it's the oldest courthouse west of the Mississippi there in Portland. It's the cutest little thing. So 3 of these judges who were appointed by presidents of the United States listened to the arguments. And at times I got lost. Like, you're arguing the dormant interstate what? Like, what? But
I'm going to clue you in. My dad, that's what he did, was argue case for the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. That was part of what he was licensed to do that.
Wow.
So he did a lot of that. Usually did it down in Los Angeles, actually.
Wow.
But, yeah, that's what it is. It's not thrilling.
It's some heady stuff. And it was only 15 minutes aside, thank goodness. But, they grilled the lawyer and back and forth. And then I was told by our experts, it'll be in the fall. And then in, no time, they came right back and said, Hood River, thank you.
Yeah, okay, so
it was
been
quite
dismissed.
decisive.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has been dismissed. I think, I'm not an expert, but I think the next step would be if someone wished to appeal, they could appeal to the full panel.
They can go to the full panel, yeah.
Interesting. Not the U.S. Supreme Court, but they could
one
have more
more step.
judges.
Yeah.
There should be one more step in there
before
it would go to the Supreme Court. But, sometimes the panel is kind of the clue.
Yeah, and the shortcut of this case is the city requires if you're in the residential zones, to short-term rent, it has to be your primary residence. And so a number of people who own homes here but don't live here, they live in other states, said that our rule violated the Interstate Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution, so the Dormant Commerce Clause it's often called. And the court saw that the city was... it was equally applicable to someone who owned 2 homes in Hood River as it was to somebody who lives in another state. So there was no discrimination based on the fact that you lived outside of Hood River.
And really there were 2 reasons a year ago this was adopted. One was neighborhoods.
That's right.
2 was the ongoing housing discussion. I'd be interested in, how many years now are we out? Because, when I first saw this was still up, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize we were still talking about this.
Yeah, it was 2016.
So we've been about, we're 10 years down the road.
That's right. And a big part of also milestone was in 2023 is when people who were already short-term renting their home in the residential zone got 7 years to kind of amortize their investment. And that changed. So in 2023, that expired. And we saw some of those houses come on the market.
This is where I was going to. 10 years later, has it worked?
My argument is it totally has worked because not only do we have many of those homes that were then restricted have become residences, either rental or for sale, and I assert that the number of STRs active in our city would have increased and increased and increased. So that's an unknown number, but it seems logical to me that we've prevented many of our homes from being short-term converting to long-term.
I can see where the neighborhood part has worked.
Yeah, I would agree
The
with that.
housing price work and housing supply, that's the one where I go, boy, I don't know that this did a whole lot.
Right. Again, it's not like, everything's affordable now, but the argument is that there is a greater supply than there would have been, and so I assert the price would have been even worser.
Yeah,
I think it did. I suspect that it slowed down kind of those investment properties, right, where you buy a house and you short-term rent it and you actually never visit it yourself. And so Again, this was only in the residential zone, so you could still buy a property in commercial zone, still use it as a short-term rental.
And that issue, by the way, has been discussion at the federal level now about whether that should be allowed, because this is obviously more than a Columbia Gorge problem. It's a national
That's right.
problem.
Actually, that's funny you say that, because I think they had 2 cities before us that had this, that had been to their district courts, were Santa Monica and New Orleans.
2 small towns some of us have heard of. I was like, whoa, we're in the conversation.
That's right. So these are the 3 cases: New Orleans, Santa Monica, and Hood River.
So again, the Circuit Court of Appeals panel in the Ninth Circuit dismissed that case. Again, that can always get appealed further up. So we'll stand by for that.
As has every court before this.
Yes, that is true. Let's go to the bond measures here real quick, because tonight actually you'll do the formal approval, but I think we're now approval down the line. Going to do ballot title approval tonight, I believe, Abigail.
That's correct.
Correct me if I get any of the details wrong, Abigail, but you've been doing a good job of making us actually cone in and make decisions, and I think where council is right now is we intend to have 2 bonds on the November ballot for equal amounts of money. $8.7 million is the estimate we got from the designers for the police station upgrades, and we thought that's about the same range as we were imagining for housing. So let's have 8.7 for low-income housing.
And having caught the presentation that was made 2 weeks ago by the study that was done by your consultants, that actually was not that thing actually was saying housing had the best chance, just housing period. Then housing police combined. Separate didn't. Why go separate? See, to me, this seemed to me that this was going against what the professionals were telling you to do.
The sense we got doing some of the sort of informal local polling and surveying was that there's fairly strong energy, not like the majority of people, but a section of people who were quite anti the idea of blending it together, and we thought that perhaps we would avoid a strong opposition group if we listened to that input and did separate them out so folks can weigh in on which ones they want. Does that sound right, Abigail?
I think they kind of, in some ways, they have a little bit of 2 different constituencies. Lots of people would support both, but some might support one and not the other.
And that's where the danger comes into me in separating them, is that if it becomes I'm going one or the other, and I know there'll be people that will do that.
Yeah.
I come back to that when you pay for a consultant's report like that, not that you have to follow it word by word, but it's I don't trust the informal stuff that you guys. I mean, nothing against it, because it gives you a good temperature. It does. There's a value to it.
Right, but it's not statistically.
But they did a pretty statistic. I mean, that's a pretty high percentage of voters they were able to survey.
Yeah, statistically significant
It was
number.
significant.
They did a good job. So that was the argument that what carried the day at council was to give people more of a choice and hope that folks choose to support it.
I guess, though, the other big question that's lingering out there that has hung over this with the housing bond, particularly, we've talked about this before. The police think it's pretty straightforward.
And I would say, if anyone wants to see it for themselves, contact me and I will arrange for a tour. You could see the. But
it's a very concrete.
See it for yourself.
It's a very concrete question. It's you can see it for yourself and determine if this is worth the money. Pretty straightforward. The housing one, the question's always been, well, what do you do with it in the first place? And the money there. And at least I haven't gotten the impression that there is necessarily a plan there at this point.
My favorite line on this is, there is no silver bullet for the housing crisis. There is silver buckshot. And working with MCAC to support the homeless shelter is a piece of buckshot. And Mariposa is a buckshot. And our STR regulations is a buckshot. And our middle housing code is a buckshot. And if you give us some more buckshot, we will deploy it for 60% AMI projects and 80% AMI projects and 110% AMI projects.
And I think you end up at 120, by the way, was going to be the limitation number, which
As we've talked about many times on the show, we find that's the market will provide housing at the top level, and there are government subsidies for the lower level.
Yeah,
but that 81 to 120 of area median income is really that spot that misses support.
Because that comes into community land trust, which has there's been some nice progress in that area, and we're excited to have more.
So when you go through this as a council, do you commit in this to say, hey, we're gonna hold this for 80 to 120? We don't know what it's going to be because there are a lot of unknowns in that. Because I sat there listening to that argument, watching it. I'll be honest. If you guys had decided anything like it said it's going to be limited to 80%, I probably don't vote for it. I'm going, okay, this isn't really going to do what I want it to do anyway. Which is I want that it's that middle part. It's the middle part where people who have jobs that should be able to afford housing can buy them or rent them or whatever you want, wherever they want to do. Give them the options. Whereas if I'm going 80 or below, I'm going, okay, that's more of the same. That also you have other sources to go get.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate that because where were you on? Chip, you could have chipped right in on the discussion.
Because I'd rather I do my job as a reporter, and would rather not. That's why you guys are voted in.
So that's encouraging. Yeah. So the 80 to 120 inclusion is a good one for you.
Yeah, to me it makes me consider it.
Yeah,
because again, I guess I'm going to come back to my original is. Do you at some point have to consider we've got to give the voters something a little more concrete that this is what the goal is with this money, rather than give us this money and we want to do something about housing and we're just not sure what's there, but we know we've got to have money.
And of course, I've heard arguments on both sides of this, and,
sure.
and we have them at
Absolutely.
council, and we don't want to miss an opportunity that crops up. And I guess for me, one of the amazing things is 80% AMI for Hood River for a family of four is like $100,000.
Yeah.
Like it's a big number, which to me that's providing a pretty wide range of assistance to a pretty wide range of individuals. There's not a starting teacher in the county that's at that number. So,
yeah, but the point being though is, those are the people that they're going to be the backbone of your economy.
Yeah.
I think council's hope is to be somewhat opportunistic, right? We don't have a Mariposa or another project on the books ready to go, but I think a big piece of this would be land acquisition. I mean, that's how the city started the Mariposa Village project. This would be very different, but it purchased land that it was able to get and then did a developer competition to select a developer that it thought met what the community needed. So I think that piece of, we don't know what piece of land might become available in the next couple of years for sale or what area of town we might be able to build in. And so trying to keep those options open for opportunities. It's a tough one for voters because it's like if we go so specific, we might end up with NIMBY, right? Like not in my neighborhood. And then, but if you're so general, voters aren't quite sure. So trying to thread that needle is difficult.
And frankly, the I would say probably just from observation over decades, the less specific you are about a bond measure, the harder it is to pass. And I guess that's why I keep coming back to on this.
Right.
Is
flexibility versus opportunistic versus...
and how you message that in the first place. And
right.
It's, that's...
I guess I would say thank goodness we didn't have a bond measure to raise money to build on Morrison Park.
True.
So, we could take some of that effort and energy to go down the road.
But had you gone over the legal hurdles, you could that would have been an option.
Yeah.
Certainly to think about that.
Yeah.
But you never really got kind of close enough to at that stage
That's
to do that.
a good point. Like when you lock in your bond measure with that particular language, and the council will talk about tonight, the language on a bond is so very specific that it can be. We don't know what things might happen in the next 2 years that we would need to accommodate.
Now, speaking of the consultant's report, I'm going to be very pedantic here on this, but this is just something.
Lecture us, Mark.
This is something I noticed.
No,
it's not a lecture; it's a question. Because there was a statement: 4 out of every 5 people who work in Hood River do not live in Hood River. And my question is how that got defined. Because, frankly, if someone lives in Odell and works in Hood River, if that's how tight they consider that number, I don't consider that to be a problem. You know, if somebody lives in the Dalles or Stevenson, I don't necessarily consider to be a problem. Now, my worry is if it's Portland, Pendleton, whichever way you want to go,
Yeah,
that's a problem.
The data comes from the U.S. Community Survey, and I don't have more granular data on that. I would note, the other statistic we've been using is 50% of our public safety staff live outside the county, and that we know because we know where they live.
And that's something you can document.
Yeah.
That's where I was going. And I'm not trying to diminish that there isn't a problem in
and
there.
They live
just that 4 out
Gresham,
of
Boring, Portland.
The
Underwood.
overall, the 4 out of 5 number, I'm going, okay, that needs to be defined for me. A lot more.
And a confusion, perpetual confusion, is that our city and county have the same name.
Right.
Yes.
In the Dalles, it's much less confusing. If the Dalles was named Wasco City, it would be it's confusing for people.
No, Wasco City's in Sherman County.
I know,
Exactly.
that messes me up
and
every
Morrow is in Wasco County. So, no, but I mean, people at the grocery store tell me they live in Odell and they voted for me and keep up the good work, and I'm like, nuh-uh. It's just truthfully.
They may have been doing something in Odell. That's I don't know. But
no, it's a fair point.
Yeah. It's just, and I don't mean to diminish. Probably the overall point of the number still holds.
Yep.
Actually, that 50% number, I think, probably to me, I bet if I outside the county, that part, I think I'd be a little more. It's probably similar.
Yeah, which is the issue, of course, for public safety. We like to respond quickly, and I will say our public works staff have to live. I think it's within 30 minutes of the city, right? And we have made job offers that then people have had to turn down because they can't live close enough to us to take the job.
Do I ask the question on that? Because it's even at the bond measure, it's not going to be an immediate fix, as Paul has well alluded to here. Do we have to think about that a little bit, that 30-mile requirement?
Oh, to change the policy for our city.
Change the policy. Yeah, I mean...
Well, if it's my sprinkler that goes off, I sure would like to have them.
I know.
For public works, it's the fact that they're on call, and if we have a water main break in the city...
I'm just being realistic to get getting good, qualified people.
Yeah. Totally, and and this is I was in Seattle recently at a city manager meeting, and lots of people were saying they've changed that rule because they've made it an hour or 2 hours because their staff are unable to live in desirable places like Hood River.
I will say subjectively, I've heard from realtors who people say, well, I don't need to live in Hood River. Like 15 minutes is fine. And they get about 4 miles up Snowden Road and they're like, oh, this feels too far. It's like, you're actually not that far, but it kind of feels far.
And there's a bridge in the middle.
Well, from that end, that bridge would change a lot of minds, to be honest.
Yeah.
Again, new bridge might... I've said it's going to connect Hood River and White Salmon much more together than they've ever been, which will be a good thing for a lot of these issues.
And will change the equilibrium.
By the way, did I also hear, and I think this came more from a county commission meeting, that the city and county were going to get together and have a discussion, or the county wanted to have a discussion?
Yeah, the county has requested that. They haven't sent a letter, but it was in their commissioner packet, so I've seen it, requesting a meeting of joint interest. So it's not on our agenda tonight, but I think council will discuss that at their next meeting and decide if they want to get together.
Okay. Moving on to something else here before we get away. Roundabout.
Yeah, another piece of good news.
This came actually just before I left. Mount Adams and Cascade. It's not happening tomorrow. Like, it's another one of those things.
But another
don't
hurdle.
Bring your shovels.
Another hurdle.
But it sounds like a roundabout's going to go in. The ODOT's given its blessing.
Yeah, that was a big deal because that's a historic highway, and it's owned by ODOT, but the city has for a long time wanted to put some kind of traffic control device there.
That's right. I forgot that would qualify as the historic Columbia River Highway, wouldn't
That's
it?
right, yeah.
I'll be honest.
There's nothing historic about that section of it.
There is nothing historic about that section of it, exactly.
And for those who know, think about that. As you're deciding how to ride home from the Columbia Gorge Hotel, the historic highway goes past Safeway. The West Cliff, past all of those cute riverfronts, which is a beautiful biking road, does not. So it's complicated.
It is. But sounds like 3 years down the road is when this is going to, or 3 or 4 maybe.
That's our kind of hope if we can put things in line. I mean, certainly we don't necessarily have all of the money at this time. It's probably our urban renewal, but
I thought the money was going to be targeted from the West Side District and tax increment, and that's just getting underway.
And as Stonehenge Restaurant closes down, that turns into something that could have a big impact on what happens, how quickly it happens at the roundabout.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't factor that.
A big development right there would change the formula.
Yeah, it's a little bit of, it's not just a roundabout, which I think we all agree we need some kind of traffic control in that intersection. It's also unlocking development in that area, because some of the things a while back had a proper developer try to put something there, and that intersection really held things up. So if it was better, then, we could have more development on the west side.
I'd be curious to know. Because we don't tend to hear about developments until they really hit a certain point, How much just simple inquiries does the city get as far as housing developments?
I don't know. They often don't come to me.
Right,
they come to our planning director.
Yeah.
And I would say we appreciate that. Include us early, talk to us. We get a fair number of people looking to buy a property, particularly properties that are on septic, like just outside the city limits, and maybe they could annex. I'd say it's generally when things are going to annex that we get lots of questions, but regularly, but not as often as we'd like.
And a part of the answer to that is a little bit tangential, Mark, but one of the realities with tariffs and uncertainty in economics and business interest rates is things start and die on the vine.
Well, that's one thing a few months ago, Planning Director Dustin Nielsen mentioned during one of your meetings, is that it's hard to tell. You mentioned the buckshot. All these little little things. It's hard to tell if they have any impact at all, because there are so many outside factors that are also plotting against anybody starting housing right now.
Yeah.
It's a difficult time.
To give an idea of, this is working and this isn't, it's hard to do. It's not there.
Yeah, it's sort of like going for a bike ride and thinking, golly, I'm slow. Wait, the wind is blowing 20 miles an hour in my face.
Yes.
I'm not as slow as I thought.
Mm-hmm. So before we get away here, Abigail, because we'll mention, and Paul Blackburn announced, of course, about 3 weeks ago, maybe less than that, actually, will not run for re-election, which brings up the point of there's municipal elections going on.
That's right, and I should have checked the deadline, but it's in a couple weeks. So if someone is interested in running for city council, if you want to be my boss, one of my 7 bosses, now is your chance. So you can get the paperwork from the city recorder. It's a I think you have to get, is it, Mayor, 25 signatures?
20 signatures, yeah, but then some are scribbled, so you need a few more.
Right. And they need to be people who live in the city, often people and are registered voters. So if you're interested, come pull the paperwork, get the signatures, but you need to do that in the next couple weeks.
And frankly, the pattern lately in the city of Hood River is not having a ton of candidates, to be honest. I mean, it's been, actually, Hood River County Commission, we just watched, there were 3 seats up.
Unopposed.
Yep. All of them in the primary.
Yeah.
Which kudos to those folks. They're doing doing the work. Enough people are pleased.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said for having a number of candidates to provide some different viewpoints.
For sure.
Yeah, totally.
I gotta say, we have one city councilor who's fairly new who's told me, this is harder than I thought, but it's also way more interesting than I thought. And I thought that was a really great, you want to work hard, but really make a difference, city council is the place for you.
I have never seen anyone that I know of who's gone on to one of these panels at a local city council, school board, county commission, who got there and didn't then realize it was harder than they thought. And I will probably include Paul.
Important stuff is hard.
Paul is nodding his head. I'm not exactly. Now, the second time you knew, but the first time.
I've
been doing it for 22 years, and both those things, it's harder and it's more interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It can be, well, especially in the city right now with the housing issues. That's you
want to make a difference. Local government is where you can truly change things.
Yes, it is. That's what I
and
say.
You got to be patient.
You do have to be patient. Yeah,
speed of government.
Nothing happens quickly, and usually that's a good thing, actually.
Yeah.
Right. City Manager Abigail Elder, Mayor Paul Blackburn, thanks for being with us.
Thanks
so much,
always,
Mark.
8:34 in the a.m. We'll come back right after this.
At Ground Coffee, we wake up every morning to make our famous breakfast sandwiches and lunches. Everything is made to order from scratch. We even roast our own coffee. Do you or someone you know need work? At Ground Coffee, we are hiring baristas to work with our awesome team. We pay well and the tips are great. And what I love about working here is my hours are flexible so I can enjoy life and work at a great place. Is it time for you to get back into the workforce? Because we're ready for you. Call us or stop in and introduce yourself. Ground Coffee in Hood River. Come work for us.
Rage Graphics and Design.
Get the word out! Our business is making your business noticed. Sign design, 3-dimensional carved signs, banners, embroidery.
Get the word out.
At Rage Graphics and Design, we use the leading edge of technology to help you
Get the word out.
Your business, your logo, your advertising. Let's come up with your design together. 217 East 3rd Street in the Dalles. Call 296-SIGN. Online at ragegraphicswithanx.com.
Get the word out.
Coffee for Mid-Columbia Today guests is provided by Hood River Coffee Roasters, the gorgeous local coffee roasters, on Tucker Road on the Heights in Hood River.
8:36 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today. Here's what's in the news. Fire crews continue battling several large wildfires in southern Wasco County, with evacuation orders remaining in effect for thousands of residents. Wasco County Emergency Management says the largest is the Little Buck Fire in the Hay Creek Complex. It's burned more than 28,000 acres. Level 3 or Go Now evacuations remain in effect for Shaniko, Antelope, Clarno, and nearby areas. A shelter is open at St. Patrick Catholic Church in Madras. The Grasshopper Fire in the Mount Hood National Forest has grown to more than 15,000 acres. Level 3 evacuations are in place for Sportsman Park, Pine Hollow, and Wamak. Mount Hood National Forest has closed the fire area and a shelter is available at South Wasco High School. Large animals can be taken to the Sherman County Fairgrounds in Morrow. Meanwhile, the 10 Mile Fire and the nearby 586 Fire have burned more than 5,000 acres combined near the Wasco-Jefferson County line. Level 3 evacuations remain in effect along parts of Highway 97 and Highway 293. South Junction Road is closed except for local traffic, and portions of the Deschutes River are also closed to public access. Fire officials urge residents to monitor evacuation notices and be prepared to leave if conditions change. Oregon has invoked the Emergency Conflagration Act for 3 more wildfires as crews continue battling blazes across central and eastern Oregon. The declaration covers the Beachcomb and Bench fires on the Warm Springs Reservation and in Jefferson County, along with a second flat fire in Harney County. The Oregon State Fire Marshal is sending incident management teams and additional firefighting resources to all 3 fires. In a Sunday night update, the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs Fire Management said the Bench fire was 20,180 acres and not contained, and the Beachcomb fire was at 13,648 acres at 0% containment. Evacuation notices remained in effect in parts of Jefferson County and the Warm Springs Reservation. The second flat fire also saw rapid growth, expanding nearly 77,000 acres by Sunday morning. Evacuations are in place in Harney County, where state crews are working alongside federal firefighters to protect homes and other structures. The Oregon State Fire Marshal now has resources assigned to 6 conflagrations statewide. The latest declarations mark the 8th and 9th times the Emergency Conflagration Act has been invoked in Oregon this year. 2 new wildfires ignited in the state over the weekend. The state's total is at 36 active fires. The Northwest Interagency Coordination Center says the larger of the 2 has already scorched more than 34,000 acres. The fire started Saturday in grasslands about 37 miles east of Burns. The second fire, burning nearly 50 miles northeast of Baker City, has grown to about 300 acres. As of Sunday, officials reported both fires still uncontained. The Oregon Department of Justice is making new allegations in its civil case involving Morrow County officials and the sale of a company that became a key internet provider for Amazon's data center operations. According to an amended complaint first reported by the Oregonian Oregon Live, state attorneys say several county officials conspired to buy WindWave Technologies in 2018 for $2.6 million, despite allegedly knowing the company was worth significantly more. The Justice Department claims the officials had access to information through their public positions that revealed WindWave's true value, especially as Amazon was preparing to invest billions of dollars in data centers in Morrow County. The amended complaint also alleges the officials misrepresented the company's value to an outside accounting firm and state watchdogs reviewing the transaction. Prosecutors say further claims they worked with longtime associates to approve what the state describes as an unlawful sale. The allegations are part of an ongoing civil lawsuit. The claims have not been proven in court. Temperature, Stevenson 63, the Dalles 66, Hood River 65. It's 8:40 in the morning.
Hey, it's Zach from Del Carpine Automotive. You know those tall Sprinter vans that look like they could secretly double as apartments? Yeah, we work on those, and we know them really well. Whether it's your adventure rig, work van, or mystery mobile full of camping gear and snacks from 2022, we've got you covered. We're now just 10 minutes up the hill in our great new location in Hood River. Come see us. From Mercedes and Ford, big rigs to Sprinters, no jobs too big or small. At Del Carpine, we work on them all. Family owned and locally trusted.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media, Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
And we are back. It is 8:42 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today. As we rattle on along, it is a Monday morning. Fewer minutes to go here on the program. And we were going to have a second guest. We're having a little issue with our phone system, though, so we're not going to be able to, at least today, have a second guest on the show by phone. We will try to work on that after the program's over. You come back from vacation, it's a Monday, and gremlins have reached us here. But anyway, what can we talk about this morning a little bit here? Well, I'll give you one here because I'm sure there are some of you out here, and I mentioned this in the news a little earlier, who certainly can remember Craig Walker on radio in Portland. He was on KGW. He did a lot of work on KGW television also. But he was on the old KGW 620. He was a top-rated morning radio host. He would have been in that upper level with Bob Miller and a couple others in Portland. Jimmy Hollister comes also right to mind. And he then would move on later as KGW AM waned. It's now, I believe, KPOJ 620. It's Rip City Radio. It's a sports station now. More on Rip City here in a few minutes. But he went to K103 there and was on for a lot of years of his life and really made connections with people. It was just kind of a warm, conversational style. Had a good sense of humor. And he, at one point, had a diabetes diagnosis that his life was in danger. It was about the early to mid-90s. And he needed a liver transplant, and happily that occurred. But was very open about it on his show, and that's kind of strengthened the connection he had with his listeners. Died Wednesday, according to K103, at the age of 80. I know on their station today they are doing some tribute to Walker. Well-deserved. Now, what you may not know about Craig Walker, he left the airwaves in 2005 in Portland. But you know how, whether you were hearing us, there's something that was called Info Alert. Or if you're watching television and there's a scroll of school closures across the screen, or the school closures you hear us give out, he ran that Info Alert for a lot of years, up till a couple of years ago. Did a really great job with it. And he was at the hub of us getting all this stuff and making it much easier than it used to be. It's still around. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but since Craig left being involved in it, it has not nearly been as good as it was. But he is somebody that Oregon radio, Portland radio, and television, but particularly radio, though. Radio really was his medium. I mean, he'll be missed. I mean, he was, on the air for 35 years or so in the Portland market, which is a long time. I can relate to this. I've been on here in the Columbia Gorge for, hosting this show for close to 38 years overall. I mean, I've seen it go from just being on an AM station to being on stations connected in the Gorge, to being on AM to FM, and now being on as a podcast. I think I met Craig a couple times. I don't think I didn't know him. This isn't like Bill. I knew Bill Schonley. I got to know him over the years. But he was always very nice, very pleasant. He really seemed to be the same person he was off the air as he sounded like on the air, which I think is usually the best and most lasting radio personalities and people who do this for a living are those who really aren't particularly different off the air than on. Like in my case, I think the only thing I would say is different is I am much more of a private person than I relate on the air. And I know of a lot of broadcasters who are like that. We're very nice to you when you see us. It's just we tend to be very private in nature. I think part of it is because I do this. I'm very public for a lot part of the day. Once I'm done here, it's like, okay, I'm now just more private, and I don't seek other areas to be in front of people. But a sad loss. I mean, Bob Miller, I think we lost, just a year or two ago? And now Craig Walker. So, yeah, just thought I would throw that out there. 'Cause I know you'll at least know the name if you've lived here for any period of time. But particularly from those, 70s, 80s, and 90s. He was a dominant force in Portland media, without question. I said, speaking of Rip City, now to the really crummy part of broadcasting, though I guess somebody passing away isn't exactly happy. But we remember him fondly, and a life certainly worth celebrating. While I was on vacation, apparently the new ownership of the Portland Trailblazers, who we've heard about the cost cutting, and there have been those who have said their cost cutting, the organization was bloated. Okay, I'll go along with that. I can see where Paul Allen was willing just to throw money a lot of places. I think, there is something to be said for that maybe it was an organization bigger than what they actually needed to be. Not though where they went now. And I'm going to admit here, I've known Travis Demers for a number of years. I have worked with him. He worked with me on a couple of OSA network events. When he went on to Portland Sports Radio. And as he has told me, right place, right time, it was a guy who could fill in for Brian Wheeler on the Blazer games when Brian Wheeler, his health just finally did not allow him to continue. Travis Demers would spend 7 years as the voice of the Portland Trailblazers on the radio. He was fired. Or contract not renewed, I think maybe how they said that. But, okay. Call it what it is. Kevin Calabro, the really good TV play-by-play man of the Blazers. I mean, just really good. He was also the TV voice of the Sonics for a long time. He was let go. Basically, it sounds like, from the statement he made, which was very circumspect, but the statement he made sounds like they lowballed him. Which there is a pattern of this with the Tom Dundon franchise. Carolina Hurricanes, National Hockey League, a few years ago, when he took over. First, they got rid of a guy on radio who had been the team's voice for like 30-plus years, one of the best on radio in hockey, Chuck Caton. They just pushed him out, just got rid of him to put a simulcast on their TV broadcast, which, frankly, modern times don't work because they're always about the TV and not the radio. And so you listen to TV audio, not getting a picture of what's actually going on. And then John Forsland, one of the best in hockey. I know this. He does Monday Night Hockey on Amazon Prime in Canada. He has been on Turner for a long time. Not their number one guy, but he's been on. He's nationally well regarded. They lowballed him the way they did Kevin Calabro, it sounds like. And that's why John Forsland has been the TV voice of the Seattle Kraken since their inception. Seattle got very lucky. And Seattle also valued broadcast. They also have a pretty good radio broadcast that we carry. And they also, a lot of the other folks who have been on their TV and radio, etc. And what people now are bringing up is there is a pattern to this. A lot of what you're witnessing is what happened when the Sonics were pulled out of Oklahoma City pulled to Oklahoma City by Clay Bennett. This is kind of the pattern they went through. They decided in Seattle they wanted arena upgrades, far less at that time justified because Key Arena was only 10 years out of a major upgrade at the time. But they did this, cutting stuff. And basically, the pattern seems to be going on here. And I'll tell you, Multnomah County doesn't seem like they want to get on board with the arena thing. Portland City Council seems pretty split on it right now. I don't want to be alarmist for you, but I think, the pattern seems to me is this guy just wants to pull this team out of here, out of Portland. This is not looking good. It really isn't. He'll stay if you fully capitulate, I believe is what it's looking like. But I'm in broadcasting. And what they'll do, they'll find somebody cheaper to do these roles. I predict they're going to try to do a simulcast. I was told by somebody the NBA doesn't allow it. The NBA used to when I was a kid, but that was 50 years ago. And guys like Bill King and Golden State and Chick Hearn on the Lakers was the last of the simulcasters in the NBA. There are a few in the NHL. A couple of them are good that works for radio. The others don't. I know I'm not interested in airing the product on our stations that's just going to be a rehash of TV audio. I'm just not interested. They'll find somebody because there's not many of these jobs. It's like the head coaching thing. And that one even, they took a guy who had done a remarkable job given how that season started last year. Nothing like after game one, the head coach facing major criminal charges involving gambling. Nothing like that to start your season. And this guy walked in and kept it pretty seamless and did a pretty good job, it appears to me. Personally, I would have been giving him I've been giving him a contract with it at a good, solid NBA rate. And then you found somebody who is willing to take it for a year, has been waiting for a shot for a long time, and if he bets on himself and wins, good for him. However, the pattern with Carolina and Rod Brindamore, who has stayed at Carolina with the Hurricanes only because he is so devoted to that franchise. He was their captain when they won their first Stanley Cup. He can bet on himself and do well in this job, and he will not get rewarded to the extent he should. Anyway, I admit I'm upset because I feel badly for Travis too. I mean, I just feel he's been done wrong here, and Kevin Calabro's been really done wrong. I mean, you're not going to get better than him on that television. I guarantee you that. Anyway, this Blazer thing's going to be really interesting to watch. This is starting to devolve quickly. I need to take a break and come back and tell you what we're doing tomorrow, right after this.
Join Aniche Sellers for the 9th Annual Food for All, an evening where community comes together to make a difference. Friday, August 14th, starting at 4:30. Enjoy a celebration of everything local with incredible local food, award-winning wine, live music, and local art. Your support helps benefit Washington Gorge Action Program's Food Bank Network, serving more than 39% of residents across Skamania and Klickitat counties. Gather, give back, and celebrate local. Get your tickets now through the banner at wagap.org. Don't miss Food for All at Aniche Sellers.
Did you know Skyline Health in White Salmon has its very own sports medicine doc superstar? That's right. Dr. Ryan Petering trained at OHSU, cared for professional Nike athletes, and even spent more than 15 years teaching other doctors how it's done. From sporting injuries to arthritis, he's here to help you move better, feel stronger, and keep doing the things you love. Want to live life to its fullest? Step right up and visit myskylinehealth.org. Skyline Health, world-class care right here at home.
The nominations are in and finalists have moved to the voting round for Best of the Gorge 2026. Visit bestofthegorge.com and vote for your favorites. Find a full list of campaign categories and finalist names to select from at bestofthegorge.com. Vote for as many as you want, once a day, every day. It's easy and you'll help your favorites win the title of Best of the Gorge 2026. Voting ends July 29th, so vote today at bestofthegorge.com.
Tune in weekday mornings at 8:05 and keep up with community events and issues with the Mid-Columbia Today Show on Mid-Columbia's news leaders, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive.
8:57 in the morning tomorrow on this show. Eric Gardner is going to join us from Gorge Recovery. We had her on a couple months ago, you may remember, about a facility that they were planning in the Dalles as a place for people who are recovering to be able to drop in, recovering from various substance abuse issues, and be able to have a place to go where the temptation wasn't there around them and be able to do some things and socialize, as long as get some help as well. Well, they're opening up in the Dalles, I think just in a couple days. So we're going to have Ari on the show. Then the mayor of the Dalles, Rich Mays, will hopefully join us. I say hopefully, we'll figure out our phone situation. May have a couple options to get around that if we don't find the exact problem. But we will figure it out. So that's what's coming up tomorrow. Wednesday, Liz Wilbur, Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation is going to join us. And I think we're going to talk about something in Skamania County in the Carson area they're working on. Again, housing's at all sorts of different pieces. Robert Jamack, Mid-Columbia Football Official Association, will also be here on Wednesday morning. They are going to that day actually have their first meeting of the year. They are looking for more football officials. That's a common theme in all sorts of high school sports, and we'll talk to Robert about that. Thursday, Tay Lynn from Theater Camille Lynn's going to join us. They've got a production coming up in a couple weeks at the Columbia Center for the Arts. We'll talk to her. And we'll figure out some more things to talk about as well at the latter part of the week. I got to get used to doing this again. For Cameron Eisenberg producing, helping me get through this, I'm Mark Bailey. Talking to you again on Tuesday.
Columbia Today Show is a public affairs presentation of Bicoastal Media Columbia River. The views expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the station, parent company, or of the sponsors. We welcome your suggestions for future shows. Call us at 541-386-1511. Listen to Mid-Columbia Today where you want. Follow or subscribe to Mid-Columbia Today wherever you download your podcast to get the show delivered every day to your mobile device.